Rest now. This is Pillowside Night Stories. Tonight is a sleepy story for grown-ups, set in a small boarding house for cats on a rainy late winter evening. You have just come in from the rain. Your coat is still damp. The hallway lamp is already on, casting amber light across the worn wooden floor. Somewhere down the corridor, a ceramic bowl is being set gently onto a shelf. A blanket is being folded back into place. And a woman who knows every room in this house by sound is beginning the last small round before the house goes fully to sleep. The rain taps at the windows. A radiator ticks softly in the corner. Behind a half-open door, you catch your first glimpse of a cat, already curled into its blanket, breathing slow. You are staying the night in the small guest room at the back of the house because the rain has come on too hard for the road home. The woman met you at the door with a nod and a glance at the weather behind you. She stepped aside to let you in, and the warmth of the house reached you before you had finished crossing the threshold. Your coat is heavy with the weather. The wool has taken on the rain, and when you hang it on the peg beside the radiator, steam begins to rise almost immediately. The heat is close here, the iron warm to the touch, and you can feel it on your face and your hands as you step back. Your fingers are cold from the walk, and the warmth reaches them slowly, spreading from your palms to your fingertips in a way that makes you aware of how long you have been outside. It smells of wet wool drying, and old wood, and something faintly like lavender. The hallway is narrow, but not cramped. The floorboards are dark with age and use. The woman moves without hurry, without hesitation. Each step and each gesture exactly right, because it has been repeated so many times, it no longer requires thought. She does not stop what she is doing when you arrive. She simply nods toward the chair that has been placed near the radiator. A wooden chair with a cushion on the seat and a wool blanket folded over the back. The corridor light stays on, she says. They like to see where they are. Her voice is low and practical. You sit in the chair. The wood is solid beneath you, the cushion worn but comfortable. The blanket smells faintly of the house itself, of wool and warmth, and something that has been near animals for a long time. From where you sit, you can see down the length of the corridor. There are doors on either side, some closed, some half open. Outside each door, there is a small card clipped to a brass hook. The cards are handwritten, the ink faded on some of them, fresh on others. Some say evening, some say night. The woman is moving down the corridor now, checking each door, each card. Behind the first half-open door, you see a glimpse of a basket, a folded blanket, and a shape breathing slow and even. A cat already asleep, curled into itself with its tail drawn close. The fur is gray, or perhaps silver in the low light, and the breathing is so slow that you have to watch for several seconds to see the rise and fall. The rain continues on the windows. The radiator ticks beside you, and somewhere further down the corridor, a ceramic bowl is set down on wood. A soft sound, practiced, familiar. She moves from door to door without hurry. At the first room, she pauses. She does not go inside. She simply looks, adjusts the angle of the door so the light from the corridor falls differently, and moves on. Behind her, the small card on the brass hook still says evening. She has not turned it yet. At the second room, she steps inside. You can hear the sounds from where you sit. The soft click of a ceramic bowl being lifted from its place on the floor. The pour of water, fresh water, replacing what was there before. The bowl being set back down on wood. The glaze worn where water has been poured and poured again. The way the ceramic rings faintly against the floorboard when she sets it down. She comes out and reaches for the card on the hook. She turns it over with 2 fingers, a practiced motion, quick and exact. Now it says, night. The handwriting on the card is neat, blue ink, the letters small and even. At the third room, she pauses longer. You can see her through the half-open door, bending to adjust a blanket that has slipped from the edge of a basket. The blanket is wool, oatmeal colored, and she folds the edge under with a single motion, tucking it so it will stay. Her hands know exactly how much to fold, exactly how tight to tuck, exactly where the blanket needs to be. There is a cat in the basket. You can see the shape of it, the curve of a back, the tip of an ear that is darker than the rest of the fur. It does not wake. It does not move. Whatever adjustments she makes to the blanket are not felt, or, if felt, are accepted as part of the evening. She comes out and turns the card. Night. At the fourth room, she stops and looks back at you. Ceramic keeps the water cooler through the night, she says. They drink more when it tastes fresh. She does not wait for a response. She turns back to her work. The soft footsteps on the worn floorboards, each step familiar to her, each creak expected. The adjustment of a door, metal on metal as the hinges move. The small sounds of bowls and blankets and cards being turned. The radiator ticking behind you. The rain falling outside, falling and falling. At the fifth room, she goes in for longer. You can hear the sounds but not see what she is doing. The rustle of fabric, a blanket being moved or adjusted. The small sound of something being rearranged on a shelf Perhaps a cushion, perhaps a water dish. The soft clink of ceramic against wood. And then her voice, low, not speaking to you, just saying something to whoever is in the room. You cannot hear the words. You do not need to. When she comes out, she turns the card, night. At the 6th room, she bends to check something near the floor. You can see her silhouette in the doorway, the shape of her shoulders as she leans forward, the movement of her hand as she adjusts something you cannot quite see. A water bowl, perhaps, a blanket edge, something small that needed attention. She straightens and turns the card. Night. She pauses at the next door and looks inside without entering. She took the radiator corner on the first night and has kept it ever since. She says, not turning around. You cannot see which cat she means, but you understand. There is a radiator in that room, and there is a corner near it, and there is a cat who has claimed that corner as her own. Some choose warmth, she says. Some choose height. They rarely change their minds. She moves on. The corridor stretches ahead of her. Doors on both sides. Cards waiting to be turned. The light from the hallway lamp reaches just far enough to show the edges of things. The brass hooks worn smooth by years of hands. The worn carpet, the shapes of door frames that have been painted and repainted over the decades. At the end of the corridor, there is a small desk against the wall. On the desk, a register book, leather-bound, open to today's date. The leather is worn at the corners, soft from handling, darkened where hands have touched it over the years. There is a pen beside it, and a reading lamp with a green glass shade, and a cup of tea that has gone cold. The steam that once rose from the cup is gone now. The tea is dark and still. She reaches the desk and makes one note in the book. The pen scratches softly against the paper, the sound of ink on fiber, and then she sets it down. She closes the book and looks back down the corridor. Every card now says, night. Every door is adjusted. Every bowl has been checked. She turns off the desk lamp, and the corridor grows a little dimmer. The green glass shade goes dark. The papers on the desk fade into shadow. Only the hallway lamp remains, casting its amber glow down the length of the hall. The rain falls steadier now, a constant presence on the glass. The radiator has found its rhythm, ticking every few seconds. Now she moves back toward you, but slowly. She is not checking anymore. She is simply passing through, letting her eyes linger on each doorway, each card, each room that has been prepared. You watch her, and you watch the house. In the first room she passes, you catch a glimpse through the half-open door. A wicker basket on a low shelf, lined with fleece that was once white and is now the color of cream. The basket is the kind that creaks when weight shifts inside it, the willow giving just enough to hold its shape. You can see where the willow has darkened, near the edges, where a cat has climbed in and out many times. A cat inside now, gray and white, its face tucked against its paws in the way cats tuck their faces when they are truly asleep. The breathing is slow, the kind of breathing that comes from deep sleep. The corridor stretches between this room and the next. The light from the hallway lamp falls in long angles across the carpet, reaching some doorways more fully than others. The carpet is worn in the center, a path made by years of footsteps, darker than the edges, where feet have not walked as often. The radiator at the far end of the hall ticks once, twice, and then falls silent for several seconds, before ticking again. The rain on the windows has found its rhythm too, no longer the urgent tapping of earlier, but something steadier, something more like a murmur. In the second room, the arrangement is different. There is a cushion on a high shelf, the kind of shelf that might once have held books or photographs. The shelf is old, the wood darkened with age, and it has been given over entirely to this one purpose now. On the cushion, a cat, ginger and long, stretched out full length, with its tail hanging over the edge. It is not curled tight like the others. It has chosen to sprawl, to take up space, to sleep the way it wants to sleep. One paw hangs down toward the floor, relaxed in a way that makes you aware of how completely the cat has given itself over to sleep. The light from the corridor reaches this shelf only faintly. The cat is half in shadow, half in amber, the ginger fur darker, where the light does not touch it. She pauses at this doorway and looks. A house full of animals sounds different once every room is asleep, she says. The silences run longer. The small sounds come from further away. The rain is falling, but it sounds further away now, as if the walls have grown thicker. The radiator is ticking, but the ticks are slower, more spaced out. The sounds of her footsteps are gentler now, her movements smaller. She continues down the corridor, and you follow her with your eyes. The light changes as she moves. Near the hallway lamp, everything is amber and warm. Further down, where the lamp's reach begins to fade, the doorways take on a different quality. Softer, darker, more like shadow than like rooms. The cards on their brass hooks catch what light remains. Small rectangles of paper that say "Night" in neat blue handwriting. The floorboards change too. Near the entrance, they creak with every step. But here, in the middle of the corridor, they are worn smoother by the feet that have walked this same path every evening for years. She moves across them without making a sound. The corridor air is different here as well. Warmer near the rooms where the radiators have been running all day. Cooler near the windows where the rain taps softly against the glass. The air moves in slow currents, carrying the warmth from one end of the hallway to the other, mixing with the smell of wool and old wood and the faint trace of lavender from the blankets. In the third room, there was a curtain. Not a door, but a curtain, hung across an alcove in the wall. The curtain is heavy, something thick like velvet or wool, the color of old wine or dark plum. It hangs in folds that catch the light from the corridor, and the light runs along the fabric in lines that shift when air moves through the hallway. Behind the curtain, you can see the shape of a bed, a small bed, just the right size for whoever sleeps there. There is a blanket on the bed, something darker than the curtain, and on the blanket, a shape, a cat, dark against the darker fabric, breathing so slowly you have to watch for several seconds to see it move. The curtain is not fully closed. It hangs open just enough to let the corridor light in, just enough to let the cat see where it is if it wakes, just enough to remind it that it is not alone in the house. The gap between the curtain and the wall is the width of a hand, no more, and through it you can see the edge of the bed, the corner of the blanket, the slight rise and fall of the sleeping shape. She does not adjust the curtain. It is exactly where it needs to be. Between this alcove and the next room, the corridor narrows slightly. The floorboards here are different, older perhaps, or more worn, and they do not creak the way the others do. She walks across them without making a sound, her footsteps absorbed by the wood and the years of polish that have sunk into it. In the fourth room, near the office end of the corridor, there is a folded cardigan on the back of a chair. The cardigan is old, the kind of garment that has been washed many times and has grown soft with washing. It is gray, or perhaps it was once blue, the color faded to something in between. Someone has left it here, perhaps by accident, perhaps on purpose, perhaps knowing that it would become a bed for whoever wanted it. On the cardigan, a cat is sleeping. It is a small cat, dark with a white chest, and it is found the exact center of the folded fabric, the place where the warmth and the softness are greatest. It is curled tight, its nose tucked under one paw, its breathing invisible except for the smallest rise and fall The cat has made itself small, has made itself compact, has made itself exactly the shape that fits best in this particular spot. She looks at this cat for a long moment. She does not touch it. She does not adjust the cardigan. She simply looks, and something in her expression shifts. Not quite a smile, but something close. A recognition. This cat, this cardigan, this particular way of sleeping. She has seen it before. She will see it again. The corridor behind her is full of sleeping rooms now. The cards all say night. The doors are all adjusted to the right angle. The light from the hallway lamp reaches down the length of the hall, touching some doorways and missing others, falling in patterns that have been the same for years. The radiator at the far end ticks once, marking the time. The rain on the windows has grown softer, steadier, more like a rhythm than a sound. She reaches the end of the corridor where you are sitting. She looks at you, and then she looks back at the corridor, at all the doors now showing night, at all the rooms now prepared, at all the small lives now breathing slow. The corridor stretches behind her, amber at this end, darker at the far end, the light falling in long angles across the worn carpet. "That's the last round," she says. The hall light stays low. She reaches for her coat on the peg by the door. It is waxed canvas, worn at the elbows, the color faded from what was probably once dark green. She puts it on slowly, one arm and then the other, and buttons it halfway up. The buttons are brass, tarnished, the kind that have been buttoned and unbuttoned thousands of times. A wool scarf hangs beside it. She wraps it once around her neck and tucks the ends inside. She looks at you once. "Sleep well," she says. Her voice is low, matter of fact. And then she opens the door, and cold air slips in, and you can smell the rain and the night and the street beyond. The cold reaches your face for just a moment, a reminder of the weather you came in from, the weather that is still falling outside. She steps out into the dark. The door closes behind her, the latch clicking softly into place. The sound is small, metal against metal, and then it is gone. You hear her footsteps on the wet pavement. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then nothing. The street has swallowed the sound of her, and she is gone. The house is different now. Not quieter exactly, but differently quiet. The sounds are the same sounds, but they come from different places now. There is no one moving through the corridor. There is no one adjusting doors, or turning cards, or checking bowls. There is only the house, and the rooms, and the cats behind their doors, and the rain, and the radiator, and you. The corridor lamp glows at the far end. The cards hang on their hooks. The doors stand at their angles. Everything is exactly where she left it. The radiator, the rain, the small sounds from down the corridor, so faint you are not sure if you are hearing them or imagining them. A shift in a basket, a paw being tucked closer, a breath, slow and even, from a room you cannot see. From somewhere far down the hall, you hear one small sound. A purr. Low, steady. The kind of purr that comes from deep sleep. It is not close. It comes from one of the rooms at the far end of the corridor, where the light does not quite reach. It lasts for a few seconds, and then it fades. And then there is only the rain, and the radiator, and the hush between them. The radiator ticks. Metal warming and cooling and warming again is less than #0. 8th hash is greater than finding its rhythm now that no one is tending it. The tick is slower than it was before, more spaced out. The intervals shift, lengthen, shorten, shift again. You remain in the chair by the wall. The blanket is still folded over the back of the chair. You have not taken it yet. You are not cold. The warmth from the radiator is enough. The warmth that has been building in this hallway all day, held by the old walls and the low ceiling and the worn wooden floor. The corridor stretches out in front of you. It looks different now. The light is lower, just the one lamp at the far end, casting long shadows down the length of the hall. The shadows reach the edge of the nearest door and stop there. Beyond that, the hallway fades into something softer, something that is not quite dark, but is no longer fully lit. The amber glow touches some things and misses others. The brass hooks, the edges of doors, the cards turn to night. But the spaces between are darker now, filling with the kind of shadow that comes when a house begins to close down for the night. The wallpaper shows faintly in the dim light, a pattern of something floral, something chosen a long time ago and never changed. The pattern repeats down the length of the corridor. The same flowers, the same leaves, the same faded colors that were brighter once. In the low light, the flowers are barely visible, just shapes repeating into the distance. The doors are all adjusted to the same angle, each one open just enough to let the light in, each one showing a sliver of the room beyond. The cards all say night, You can see them from here. The small rectangles of paper on their brass hooks, each one turned the same way. The handwriting is the same on all of them, the same blue ink, the same neat letters. In the dim light, the writing is no longer readable, but you know what it says. The register book lies closed on the desk at the end of the hall. The leather cover, the pen beside it, the cold cup of tea that no one will drink, the green glass shade of the reading lamp, dark now, catching no light. The book will be opened again in the morning. The pen will scratch against the paper again. But for now, they are simply objects, waiting for the next day to begin. The lamp at the end of the hall flickers once. It is an old lamp, the kind with a bulb that has been replaced many times. The flicker is brief, barely noticeable. Then the light steadies and continues, a little dimmer than before, a little softer. The amber glow reaches down the corridor in a long, slow fall, touching each doorway differently, some more fully than others. The light does not reach the far corners anymore. It stops at the edges of things and lets the shadow fill in the rest. The rain is lighter now, less insistent. The sound on the windows has changed from a steady tapping to something more like a murmur. The rhythm has slowed, matching the rhythm of the radiator, matching the rhythm of the house. The radiator ticks again. The intervals are longer now. The heat from it is steady now. Not pushing, not demanding, simply there. The iron is warm to the touch, and the warmth spreads outward into the air, into the walls, into the blankets, and the carpets, and the old wooden chair where you sit. The floorboards have stopped creaking. There is no one walking on them now. The old wood holds. The corridor light reaches the nearest doors and stops. The brass hooks catch what remains of the glow. The cards, turned to night, are visible only as small shapes. The writing no longer readable from where you sit. You hear one sound from down the corridor. A basket creaking. Just once, just slightly, as if a cat has shifted in its sleep, has adjusted its position, has found a more comfortable way to lie. The wicker gives, holds, settles, and then nothing more. The blanket is in your lap now. You do not remember taking it from the chair, but it is there, wool and weight across your knees. The wool is thick, the kind that holds warmth even when it is not being warmed. The edge of the blanket is bound in fabric, Something soft, something that has been touched many times. It smells faintly of the house, of the years of evenings that have accumulated in these rooms, than of the many small lives that have been here before you. The weight of it is reassuring, not heavy, but present. The kind of weight that reminds your body where it ends and the air begins. The radiator ticks. The interval is longer still. The lamp dims, almost imperceptibly, the way old bulbs do when the night is late. The amber glow has softened further. The corridor seems longer now, the far end less distinct. The rain falls softer. The rain continues on the windows. It has been falling for so long now that it has become part of the hush. The drops are softer now, smaller, falling further apart. The radiator ticks once more. The interval between this tick and the last is longer than before. The heat is there, reaching you, warming the air between you and the wall. Gentler now, less urgent. The iron is cooling or holding steady, finding the temperature it will keep until morning. The lamp at the end of the hall has dimmed again. It gives off enough glow to see the shapes of things. The edges of doors, the cards on their hooks, the closed register book on the desk, the green glass shade, barely visible now, just a shape in the amber light. Beyond that, shadow. Behind the doors, in the baskets, and on the shelves, and under the blankets, the gray and white one with its face tucked against its paws, the ginger one stretched full length on the high cushion, the dark one behind the curtain, the small one on the cardigan. The blanket is heavy on your lap. The chair is solid beneath you. The wood of the armrests is smooth under your hands, worn by years of other hands, other evenings. The wall is close behind your shoulder. The radiator is warm at your side, the heat reaching you in waves so gentle now they are almost imagined. The corridor lamp glows at the far end, amber and low. The rain falls softer now. The radiator ticks slower. The intervals are lengthening. The light from the corridor lamp reaches the edge of the nearest door and stops. Beyond it, the rooms are dark. Somewhere down the hall, a cat shifts in its basket. You do not hear it. The sound does not reach you. It happens, and then it is over, and the house continues, and the rain continues, and the night deepens around you. The radiator ticks once more. The lamp flickers once, catches, holds. The rain whispers against the glass. And before the next small sound from the corridor reaches you, you are asleep.